How do we thrive during times of significant stress?
We are so much stronger than we think. It's so important to build your growth mindset. The reality is, as you go through these super challenging things, if you work through them, the other side is amazing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Girlfriend Doctor Show. I am Dr. Anna, your host, the Girlfriend Doctor, and this is a place where we really work to improve our health, awaken our minds, nourish our bodies, embrace the best and healthiest relationships, and shine from the inside out. So welcome again. And today in this month of March, we are talking about resilience. How do we build ourselves up? How do we reinvent ourselves, recreate ourselves? Let the past go, stay in the past and focus on the present and re-envision a future that is magnificent, healthier, stronger than we can even imagine. Recently in the Girlfriend Doctor Clubhouse, we had a beautiful discussion on relationships and this month of February was Relationship Reset Month. And one of the members, Suzanne, she said, Dr. Anna, I thought my marriage was fine, but I'm realizing that there are some areas that could use some resurfacing, some rebooting, and intentionally to change some mindset around some things that I've kind of let go, just let, hang on, or just deal with and ignore. And that's really not going to help us have the healthiest relationships. And that's what we want. So from Relationship Reset Month of February to now the month of resilience in March, what I am sharing with you this month is a dear friend of mine, JJ Virgin. I've known JJ since early 2000, and we've been through some experiences together, and I've spent the last 2 New Years with her and just love her as a dear friend, but also as an incredible mentor, as a coach, and as a leader in the health space and bringing integrative and nutritional and fitness cutting edge strategies into our lives, into your lives. I know you've heard of her. She's written so many books. She has most recently written The Warrior Mom, and this is an entire book about mindset and how we can recreate ourselves. So in today's 2 segments for the Girlfriend Doctor Show, she talks about her story and some concrete actions that she took to help her along the way transform a significant trauma into something that has been a healing and highly impactful, positive experience in her life. And we never want those traumas, but then it's like life, we're not guaranteed to have any traumas. Every one of us will. It's what we do with that and what does make us grow stronger. In the second segment, we're talking about 4 key concrete steps that we can take on a regular basis to work into that muscle of resilience, to be stronger so that no matter what comes our way, we can experience that peace that surpasses all understanding. So I'm glad you're here with me, and welcome to the show. Let's bring JJ on. Well, welcome, JJ, to the Girlfriend Doctor Show. I am thrilled to have one of my dearest girlfriends on the show with me. Thanks for being here.
Dearest and longest running.
Dearest and longest running. Man, we keep circling each other, which I love it. I love it. And I spent 2 New Years in a row celebrating it in with you. I mean, that's the way to do it. And that's really brings us into mindset, setting your intentions for the year, recognizing last year, what did we anticipate this pandemic or what?
I know. Think about the when we rang in 2020 and how we rang it in, and then all of a sudden you're like, "What happened?" And then how we rang in 2021, which was all right. Now we're going to get super intentional after what just happened, right?
It's so true. Yeah. And I think that's where this whole concept of mindset and how we have this resilience, how do we thrive during times of significant stress, and everyone's experiencing it at different levels, and not to be compared one with the other, but you've been through some major trauma in your life and are one of the most resilient women that I've ever met in my entire life, and such a giver and leader to help others along in their journeys in so many ways, from health, man, way back in early 2000, right? It was weight loss resistance and health and nutrition and food sensitivities, and the list goes on. And I'd like you to share a little bit about your personal story.
Yes, I think you and I probably rival each other for going through challenges and becoming resilient. It's not really a contest that I would want to be winning at, you know? And when I tell this story, one of the things I always hear, Anna, is people go, oh my gosh, I could never do that. And I would challenge you to rethink that we actually have no idea what we're capable of. And I believe we are so much stronger than we think. And it's so important to build your growth mindset, because life is not about how you show up when things are easy. Like it's easy. Like if it's sunny outside and you get flowers and it's a beautiful day and you're a nice person, well, big deal. But when things are really challenging and struggling and you show up strong, that is a big deal. The good news is you can train for it. So every single challenge you've ever gone through in your life, think of that as training. Think of that just like you took your mindset to the gym, almost like you were taking your body to the gym. So this story that I'm going to share, the important thing is that it wasn't my first challenging event, fortunately. And I had been trained by an amazing mindset coach in my 30s on how to handle challenging situations. So I think like most people out here who have kids, I always thought, well, I can handle anything as long as my kids are okay. And when my older son was 16, I have two boys. My younger son was 15, Bryce. My older son, Grant, was 16. And we'd been having so many challenges with Grant over the years. He'd really struggled with behavioral problems, but he'd finally gotten on track. And so he was home, and I remember he was really angry that afternoon because his dad had said he couldn't go out and do karate, and we were divorced, and I wanted to make sure, like, you know, you always hate that where parents say different things. So I always made sure I was backing up his dad. And so I was like, well, you'll go tomorrow. And he stormed out of the house. It was just turning dusk, and said, Mom, I'm not as strong as you think I am. And stormed out of the house, slammed the door. The next time I saw Grant, about 90 minutes later, he was lying on a stretcher in the ER in Palm Springs. He was on a ventilator. He had a tube coming out of his head to manage the pressure on his brain. He'd had major car accidents. Someone had hit and run, hit him crossing the street. So they think maybe the car was going 40 miles an hour. No one knows for sure because the person sped off. And he was literally left for dead in the street. When we got there, he had bones sticking through his skin. I remember looking at this, Anna, going, thinking I was looking at a movie. And I think that's what we do. I think we go, nope, not real, not real. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, there were bones sticking through his skin. He was covered in road rash. He was on that ventilator with the tube coming out of his brain. Everything's beeping. And the doctor says, you know, you're just going to have to let him go. He's got this severe traumatic brain injury. And he also has this torn aorta, and the surgery he needs in order to repair this aorta before it bursts, we can't do it. And he'll never survive the airlift to the hospital he needs to go to, which was Harbor, UCLA. It was maybe a 30, 45-minute helicopter ride away. He'll never survive that. And even if he were to survive that, he'll never survive the surgery. I mean, talk about like, this is the worst doctor you want to be around, right? Your doctor self is probably going, and then he said, and even if he were to survive both those, he'd be so brain damaged, it wouldn't be worth it.
Man, and just to be faced with those words and this,
right.
All this reality change, you know.
Oh my gosh. I know Bryce was looking at this going, I guess I'm an only son now. And we're listening to this doctor though. And Bryce, my son Bryce, is this math whiz, but it didn't really take a math whiz to figure this one out. He's like looking at the doctor and he says, maybe there's a 0.25% chance he'd make it. And the doctor looked at him and said, really gravely, like, that's about right, son. Like, you know, who would take those odds? And Bryce looks at him and goes, we'll take those odds.
Good.
And he said, you know, that's not zero. And literally think about it in life. We tend to focus on that 99.75% over there. Like, you know, what could go wrong? Instead of going, I just need a little hope, like just the littlest glimmer, just the littlest possibility. What if instead of focusing on all the things that could go wrong or weren't working, if you just grabbed a hold of the one thing that was possible, that hope, the thing that could work. And that's what we chose to do, which I don't really see any other thing to choose there, right? I mean, what other choice would you make? So we chose that. And man, Anna, when I drove to LA that night in the middle of the night, I didn't know what I would see when I got there. Like, I didn't know if he'd survived the airlift. We had no way of knowing. And we get to this hospital. We walk into this prep room. There are 5 surgical teams prepping him. A doctor had taken the call in the middle of the night, had gotten a hold of a stent that was not even available anymore, that hadn't been, he said, I just was going to ask for forgiveness because he'd been using it, but it hadn't been used on kids. He recruited all the rest of the teams, saved my son's life. And, I remember standing in the hospital as I'm getting ready to go through what I have no idea it's going to be. Like, when you're in a situation like this, I don't know if my son's ever going to wake up out of the coma. The neurosurgeons were like, we don't think he's going to wake up. I don't know who's going to wake up if he does wake up. I don't know if he's going to be able to walk, see, nothing. I know nothing. And I'm standing there and I'm holding his finger, and I say finger because everything else was bandaged or cast. So I've got a finger and that's all I can touch. And, I'm saying, Grant, I love you so much. And, all you can hear is the machines beeping and his breath and no response. And the nurses go, you're not going to hear anything. He's in a deep coma. And, with pity. And then I said, Bryce loves you so much. And I felt a little squeeze and I thought, I am so tired. I'm so delirious. And then I said, your grandmother loves you so much. And I felt nothing. And I said, your girlfriend, Mackenzie, loves you so much. She says, come home. And Grant squeezed my finger and tried to pick it up off the bed. And you know what, Anna? I was like, game on,
Right.
Game
we're
on. Right. Yep. I was like, okay, Grant, listen, this is what we're going to do. You're going to be 110%. I just need you to fight. I'm going to pull in every resource I can to do this. And I just kept that picture, as insanely implausible as it was, of seeing my son. It's called future pacing. I saw him absolutely healed and better than before the accident. That's what I kept in my brain every day. I wouldn't even let any other vision than that get in my brain. And, he was in the hospital 4.5 months. They wanted him in longer. We took him out. And then he was in rehab. And then he was in all sorts of therapies. And literally, it took 8 years to get to the point where I can say he's 110%. But we got there. It doesn't matter how long it took.
And your family is amazing. You're, in so many ways have had so many blessings since then. And man, I remember, JJ, when I got that phone call, and I was like, oh my God, and your entire community just lifted up your voices in prayer. Man, prayer helps. And just being able to intervene. It was crazy because I just been doing research on IV progesterone and traumatic brain injury. And I was like, man, let's get him on some progesterone.
And we did.
It makes a difference. And these things, it's like how we were brought together. And one thing I don't know if you know or not, but that accident that was happened, it was October 2012.
Was September 10th, 2012. Because I remember thinking he was going to die on September 11th. I was like, oh my gosh,
Yep. And, for me, it was a huge trigger, having lost my son, Garrett, and you, my dear friend, going through this on, teetering on the edge, and just feeling the confusion and the pain and the hurt and all of that. That was really just such a transformative time in so many ways, and just having to hope and pull up all the resources and kind of have to live through that trauma again and to continue the healing journey that I'd been on, was what your situation really ignited in me. Like, my life had to change. And that realization was part of my intersection with your story as well.
So one of the things you find when you go through these things, and I'll never forget you texting me in that hospital, and I immediately was like, got a hold of progesterone through Dr. Prudence Hall. I'm like, help, but you know, these experiences, you always hear that phrase, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And you're like, oh, poo poo. But it's so darn true. I remember, Anna, I was sitting around the family dinner table with my ex-husband and my son Bryce and son Grant, and we all agreed that it was the most transformational thing that has ever happened to us. As a family, we're so much stronger. As individuals, we're so much stronger. And the reality is, you know, as you go through these super challenging things, if you work through them, and there are ways you can work through them to do this, if you do that, the other side is amazing. And you just want to work through the steps as quickly as possible to get to the other side as quickly
Yeah,
as possible, right?
so true. We're going to come back and talk about those steps and in just a minute. One thing I want to emphasize is it is just one right next step after another. It's learning this and having faith and powering through and just knowing that there is a better tomorrow. There can be a better tomorrow. It's hard to see, and I know many people are experiencing loss and trauma, change in lives. I mean, here at the time of this recording, we're in a snowstorm in Dallas, and some people's homes have been, damaged, roofs falling in without, heat, and I mean, just amazing traumas that are happening. So what is one thing that we can do when we're facing in this situation that you did? You said you future pacing.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about, like, well, hold on, practice this future pacing.
The future pacing was basically only allowing myself to see Grant at 110% and to really, in vivid color, create that life that he was going to live. Like, see us together, see him as a grown man, see him happy, seeing him in a relationship, seeing him, in a career that he loved, like just seeing him where he was flourishing. And every time, I'm in a hospital, there literally a little girl coded in the bed next to him while we were there. I was covering his ears. I had music going on, shielding him. But I was not allowing myself to get the what if syndrome, which is so easy to do. What if he never wakes up? What if he can't walk? What if? And I kept saying, as long as he is alive, we have possibilities, we have options. So I'm just going to stay there and focused on the next thing. Is it progesterone? Is it fish oil? Is it acupressure? Is it prayer from every religion? I took them all in. What is the next thing that I can do? What can I do to make a difference? And that's all I did, was like, saw that future thing and took a step, then took a next step, then took a next step. And sometimes I had no idea if there was any ground underneath me as I took that next step, but you just take the next step.
Yep, I agree. And so as our viewers here are watching and listening to this show, think right now, like, what is an obstacle? What are you facing? What's a hardship, a block in your life, a challenging situation, maybe a challenging person? What's the one next right step you can take right now, and to go move in this positive direction to the vision, the future pacing vision that you idealize to be the outcome? Maybe it's a challenging time with your mate. Think, how can we make this a beautiful, tight, strong, loving, nourishing relationship? How can we recreate our job, our career, our financial prosperity, and that, maybe it's our own personal health. So whatever it is for you guys right now, write this down, write your one next right step, get that future pacing, that vision, and feel it. Feel what that feels like when you're seeing the situation, like JJ did for her son, just being at his 110%. So see it, feel it, and share it with me. All right, everyone, jjvirgin.com. Check out her website and her book, Warrior Mom. That is a gifting book as well as a must read. Thank you all for being part of the Girlfriend Doctor community and sharing this Girlfriend Doctor show with your friends and loved ones and on your social media. Be sure to tag me. I love checking in with you and seeing what you guys are doing. So if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And wherever you're listening to this, and Podcast Addict, iTunes, iHeartRadio, let me know. Be sure to give us a review. And I look forward to seeing you on the next show. Thank you, guys. See you soon.